Welcome fathers who are looking to inspire their kids and become fearless. This is the Become a Fearless Father show and I'm your host, Klaas van Oosterhout. I'm a father of 2 boys, husband and entrepreneur. This show is created to teach you how to take control and enjoy the most difficult job you've ever faced, fatherhood. I'm going to keep it real and share real life experience. A heads up, there is no magic pill. You will have to put in the hours, sweat and tears to achieve victory. Are you ready to improve your health, wealth, relationships, knowledge and become the hero your family needs you to be? I know you are. So get your pen and paper ready and let's become fearless fathers together.
All right, everybody, we're going to start a little earlier. We're on a time clock and that's all right. I like pressure. It feels good. I have the pleasure, man. I'm so excited to be online with Jason. I'm sorry, you have to pronounce your last name and then I'm going to try to remember it because I do not know how to pronounce it. So let's start off with that. And then, man, we've been on a journey together in regards to the 30-day One Funnel Away challenge. So, you know, everything about background stories, origin stories. I am dying to hear yours, my friend, dying. So let's get started.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. I appreciate you. The name is Jason Pockrandt. Jason Pockrandt. Pockrandt. So I appreciate you bringing me on the show here, and glad to get connected and excited to hear what you got going on as well. So not sure where you want me to start, but Jason Pockrandt, 2-time best-selling author, wrote 2 books on fatherhood for the dads out there. Gave a TEDx talk called Fatherless to Fatherhood, The Journey, where I shared my story of losing my father at age 17 and just kind of transitioning into adulthood there. And then I currently work now. One of the big things I do trying to go big here. One of the big things I do, the main things I do is I build online marketing systems for authors so that they can sell their books and get their message out to the world. And then I do coaching for dads doing business. So all the entrepreneurial fathers like Klaus, is it Klaus or Klaus? Klaus, my man Klaus here. All of us dads that are out there that realize the only way to financial freedom for our fathers or for ourselves and our families to be the best fathers is through entrepreneurship. So that's what I'm out helping dads scale and grow businesses.
Nice, man. Loving it. We're doing the same. So that's amazing. It's nice, man. It's so important to create an environment, which we'll be talking about earlier. I thought it was one book, and I was actually going to ask you if you're a best-selling author because, you know, from the stories I heard from Brendan and from Kenyon, I thought, man, either you are a best-selling author or you're about to be one because the way they talk about it, your book, Father-Daughter's Conversation. What's the other book called, by the way?
Yeah, so the first one's called The Confident Father's Guidebook. That's 5 Steps to Personal Transformation. That one came out in 2012 when the journey sort of started. Truth be told, behind that was more or less unknowing to me at the time, but that was more of me just sort of having a voice in my family. So I lost my dad. In 2004, April 9th, 2004. He suffered with a battle. He battled prescription pills for a while. And that eventually one day just got the best of him. So I lost my dad, and then I struggled for years after that. You know, trying to figure out. It was about 8 years actually. I went to college. I became addicted to school. You know, till this day, I'm still just a learning junkie, which is probably the reason that I never should have started with ClickFunnels. No, just kidding. But yeah. So I spent the next 8 years kind of struggling through it and trying to figure out where to go and what to do and, you know, get a degree. And Kenyon and I had this conversation about chasing the American dream, but not my dream is what he says. And that's what I did. I went to college, got a degree, got a job in a field I couldn't stand, doing a job I hated. And then things just kind of slowly escalated from there when I had my epiphany and discovered, you know, life coaching, right, if you will. And when I first found Dan Miller, that was the pivotal moment for me to decide to realize that I could do this thing. And it actually was a thing, I guess. That was back in 2012. But so the first book kind of stemmed from that. It was kind of just me having a voice and helping people realize that they didn't have to struggle. And then you fast forward a couple years, and Father-Daughter Conversations, which was this guy, was actually a compilation of stories. I got myself and then 10 other dads, and they all wrote a piece. I found other dads that were wise that had daughters, because I found out I was going to be a dad. So I found out I was having a little girl, and I was like, oh, shit, I'm going to be a dad. I don't know what to do because I don't have a father. And so I literally wrote the book to help other dads like me figure out what to do with little girls, how to raise girls, how to, bring up women of honor and integrity. And so selfishly, I wrote the book. I had them help me write the book, and then I put it all together and sell it. And then I put conversation starters at the end of each chapter so that dads can more fully engage and better connect with their daughters. And then there's a few other side projects we're building out on that as well with the book. But yeah.
Nice, man. Now, this was one burning question that I had because I got 2 boys, and I'm just wondering, like, how relevant would it be for a father that's watching right now and is saying, oh yeah, I'm disconnecting because I got boys, so that's not going to be for me. How, I know you don't have boys, but how relevant do you have, for example, fathers that read it, that have boys and that are like, man, I can use this and this as well for my sons to connect better with them?
Yeah, absolutely. The concepts in the book, right? So Marcus Cusi wrote in the book, his chapter was all about being present. It was about being intentionally present with your kids. Joshua Rivers speaks about being overprotective as a father. He talks about, the fine line between protecting our kids or, protecting his daughter versus not. So the concepts are timeless. And for me, I crafted the questions at the end of each chapter based on the dad's story. So they wrote the story, and then I went through it and thought, what, here's what a dad needs to think about. Here's what a father needs to take from that story and ask himself and think about, and ponder and things of that nature. So yeah, so the book is timeless. So you can take it as a dad and, oh, look at that. I literally just turned to Marcus's chapter. So be present. To give you a quick example, right? So let's see here. So I said, your wife is your biggest supporter and the one who will be there no matter the decisions you make. Are you respecting her values as you raise your daughter? So you can ask yourself the same question in regards to your son, right? We talk about marriages. We talk about how to be a better husband, which makes you a better father. How to be, I'm slightly biased, but yeah, it's a great book. Yeah.
Well,
sons or daughters, you can benefit.
Well, you can be biased as much as you want. I'd be proud as hell if I had written such a book. So yeah, why not, man? We'll share later on. I'll be sharing links with everybody so they can find the book. If there's a link to the first book you wrote, I'll do that as well. And how can people connect with you? Will we talk that? Of course, at the end, dude, man, you're talking about overprotecting your kids, for example, right? You just mentioned that from the book. And then now that you're talking about it, I was thinking, yeah, right. That was one of the biggest things that fathers are worried about is like, when am I overprotective, when not, or even not realizing it and they're so overprotective, right? So that's the first thing I want to talk to you. And I'm already going to lay the link so you can think about it. The one thing that I'm starting to laugh because I actually saw it today. Grandparents, dude, especially grandmas. I mean, talking about overprotective, right? I saw one walking around and just, don't run, you're going to fall. Don't walk too close to that, you're going to do this. I already got stressed. I'm like, wow, how's the kid going to feel? So that's going to be the link later. But first of all, overprotecting in regards to parents. What's your philosophy and what should parents do and what should they not do or look out for? Hey, sorry for the interruption. I know you're really enjoying the show. Just want to make sure if you're liking this information, please subscribe and press the like button. And also, go visit becomeafearlessfather.com. You get the opportunity to share your biggest challenge at the moment as a father. And it gives me the opportunity to try and help you overcome this. Thanks, and enjoy the rest of the show.
Well, I think one of the keys that they have to understand is that we have to allow our children to fail on their own. And that's hard to say that because we as adults are still so deathly afraid of letting ourselves fail at the thing, right? We're spending every day of our own lives trying to overprotect ourselves, right? You know, our croc brains kick in, right? We're trying, you know, fight or flight, and we're like, no, I can't try this business. I can't go for this thing. I can't happen, you know. Well, we got to realize that our daughters and our sons, they're doing the same things, right? You know, my daughter wants to, like, every day my daughter makes me chase her through the hallway, right? So from this living room right here, down, around the corner, down the hallway. And we have a metal door, a metal sliding door that's always open because the cat litter box is in there, right? So I can't shut the door. And every time I chase her down the hallway, I have that thought that she's going to run straight into that door. She's going to smash her head on the door. And I tried being that, you know, I've tried like, no, Lennox, we can't run. We can't run. We can't. And now it's just like, she's going to hit it one of these days. Like, I know she is. And I have to allow that to happen for her to be more self-aware. You know, we have to allow ourselves as parents to fail at the first thing to be more self-aware. And I think it's that fine line. And I think it has to do a lot with how we were brought up, how our parents overprotected us, or if they sheltered us too much, and what we've learned, and just what the stories that we tell ourselves based on the lives we've lived, is the most dangerous thing, I think, in determining whether or not we pass that same story back on to our daughters or our sons. So I think you have to toe the line. I think parents need to be able to let them fall. They need to be able to let them get back up. They need to be able to, you know, be there to catch them, or be there to pick them up, but you can't always be there to catch them. That makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So are there some examples, or how do you, some specific things besides the running? By the way, I got the scar right here from running in just a similar door that you're talking about when I was young. So I'm still smiling, so it must have not been that bad. Anyway, I'm just wondering, like, are there some other examples that you can give that you had doubts of, like, or trying to teach her how to fail? Because I'll give you a better example. I'll give you an example of my thing, what I'm struggling with, and I'd love to hear your opinion. All right, my son's 5, right? He's starting to learn words, and he's starting to learn how to write and stuff like that. And now we get papers so we can practice, and we start to practice with him. And we also get books so we can read them in the weekend, and then he has to write down, like, the character, his name, and stuff like that. And he can write his name very well because he's been practicing a lot, but his last name, my last name, which is horrible, is very difficult, and he can't. So he starts stressing out because he doesn't want to fail. So what's the best way of handling that? Because I want him to just do it and fail. I don't care about that. But sometimes you get frustrated because he doesn't want to try, because, you know, also from school, it seems like they're being taught from all directions not to fail. So how do you go about handling that?
I think it might sound a little crazy, but I think you have to, like, in your situation, I would somehow, you have to make him do it wrong, you know, like, you have to get him to just finish it first. I think for a lot of people, right? I know in John Acuff's book, Finish, he says that the you know, perfectionism or failure is the lie. Like, perfectionism is the lie that tells us we're failures, right? And they say that perfectionism isn't the opposite of done. You know what I mean? It's yeah, perfect isn't. I'm screwing it up. The point is, we get so hung up on not finishing because we don't think it will be perfect. And listening to your example, right? Like, you can picture your son. You can see him. He'll quit because he knows it's not perfect. And I do that. Like, I'm a perfectionist by nature, right? And it's so difficult for me. And I have to force myself to finish the things. I have to force myself to get the funnel out the door. I have to force myself. You know, I refer to it as version 1, right? I was actually going to start up a coaching program for people. It's called version 1 to help other dads start their first thing, right? Like, for you, I know you just launched a coaching program, and I'm not sure if that's your first one or your 15th one, right? But we have such high expectations of ourselves, and our children put such high expectations on themselves. Even at 3 years old, at 5 years old, my daughter does the same thing. She will get so frustrated when she can't zip up her own coat. she'll just be like, "Arr," and she'll stop. And I'm like, you got to do it. I'll tell her, like, you have to do it. Like, we're not going to do it. And I'll stand there and make her do it herself. I'll make her finish it. So it's like making him write out all the letters and explain it to him and show him, like, it's OOSTER, you know, and be like, that one's wrong, but that one's right. That one's wrong, but it's okay. You know, and kind of like reinforce the incorrectness, I guess. Because that's how we learn. You know, for you and I, it's putting up a crappy funnel and then learn and be like, man, you know what? That page really was pretty bad. I'm glad you told me about that. I'm glad you know what I mean? Because if we didn't, we would have been like, nah, it's not ready to go quite yet. It's not perfect enough. I mean, that's one of my things, at least for our kids. And it's crazy because honestly, right now for myself, I feel like a child again. Having gone, you understand this, right? Having gone through the One Funnel Away Challenge, I've started doing my Facebook Lives every single day. And I feel like I feel so giddy. Like I get so excited to just get out there and be like, you know what? Here's what I got to say today. Here's what I want to say today. You love it, you hate it, you like it, you don't. And that's for our kids too. Let them just show up. Just encourage them to just go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I appreciate that. It's when I mention to him, that's wrong, that's right, that's wrong. Then as soon as I say that's wrong, he just go, and he just starts crying. That's another thing to have, and maybe that's a father thing. And I wanted to ask you that as well. It's hard for me to deal with him crying. And I don't know if it's different if you have a daughter or not, but it's so hard, especially if he would really hurt himself. Like the other day, he really, really hurt himself. He was bleeding here and inside his lip and stuff like that, and he had his nose scathed. And I got him real quick not to cry thanks to a breathing exercise that I taught him. However, that was a good moment for him to be crying. I would have been okay with that. But other moments, it's like, dude, nothing happened. And he's crying, and I'm like, okay. And I'm really struggling with that. I'm like, how do I deal with this in a correct way that is good for me and most of all beneficial for him? Yeah. So I'm wondering, what's your experience, and is there maybe some tip or something that you could teach me that I could use next time?
Yeah, so I think in that scenario, or for anyone in that situation, I think the question has to be, are we responding as parents based on our beliefs that we think and how we think they should respond. Mm-hmm. So if you look at it from like a personality trait standpoint, even, you know, your son may very well be more of an emotional person than you are naturally. So maybe he may cry and he's not really upset about it in that moment, but he just feels like crying. Mm-hmm. Where you're like, nothing happened. We're okay. You know, my daughter does it yesterday about, around noon. My wife will leave to go off and do some work. And then Lennox will get ready. We'll take her to daycare. We'll run her off for some range. She starts just crying. I'm like, you're going to see grandma for like 2 hours. It's like, mom's got to get some work done. I told my wife yesterday, I said, she can't keep crying about that. I was like, I tell her it's going to happen. Like, she has to know. Like, and I told her that same thing. I was like, well, I don't want her to get upset. I can't handle it. And my wife told me that. She's like, you just got to let her do it, babe. Like, she's going to understand one day, but, you know, I can't make her not cry in that moment. You can't. I think it's the judgment. I think it's a judgment call that we make as parents. So for you to say it was okay for him to cry because he's bleeding and his tooth chipped, but it's not okay for him to cry if he's upset because he can't spell or he can't write. Mm-hmm. I think there's just a danger in us making the assumption based on how we would react or how we think they should react, which you can fast forward all the way to an adulthood as well. You know, if I told you, Klaus, you shouldn't cry at that. You shouldn't cry at, you know, I mean, you know, I don't know, like if your dog dies and you're like, well, I'm not going to cry about that. Well, I might, like, I, you know, my cat, you know, my wife's cat we put down like 6 months ago, right? Like I bawled like a baby. That's who I am though. Naturally, I'm an emotional person and I'm okay with that. You know what I mean? I'm comfortable crying or showing my emotions more than most men are, which I think is a whole nother conversation, which I think is another sad reality that men listen too much into society about what they think. And then we put those traits on our kids as well, boys or girls. You know, tell your son, man up, don't cry. And you tell your daughter, like, you know, don't be so weak. Don't be, you know, be a stronger woman. Don't be upset about that. It's like,
yeah, absolutely. No, I'm trying as much as I can. It's more of an inner struggle that I have than that I'm outing it to him.
sure.
Because I totally agree with you, and I just started thinking also, it's like that's what we've been taught. No, that's parents immediately say boys have to be strong, you can't be crying, and I'm just trying to think, no, he has to emotionally develop himself.
True.
But there's lines, and that's where, you know, I'm gonna let him cry next time and be there for him if he wants a hug or anything. We love hugs, so that's perfect. So that goes well. I want to quickly go back a little bit. You were talking about, you know, failure. We're letting our kids fail, and it's so important. We as us as fathers and entrepreneur dads have such difficulty with failing and doing stuff as well, which also comes in fear, you know, failing, so we don't come out with what we need to come out with. I'm just wondering, maybe you can give some of your advice to people that are afraid of failing or are struggling really with failing over and over again. How do you deal with that? What's your, let's say, philosophy in regards to failing?
Sure. I think, and this has come more recently for me, right? But a couple points to it. So the mindset, there's a couple mindset shifts. There's two mindset shifts I think we need to have. The first, which I don't take credit for because we've all heard it before, right? Is there's, you know, there is no failure, there's only learning, right? So when you can shift your mindset to believe that nothing you try, if you try something and you choose not to continue it, or you choose not to do it, or you choose not to pursue it, it is in no way a failure because you chose not to do that thing, or that you quit that thing, or that you know, pivoted from that thing, because at the end of the day, you learned. And I think for me, what I've learned most recently, I've learned more recently is that the best thing about it is that I never failed. I didn't fail as a financial advisor. I didn't fail as an insurance agent. I didn't fail as a youth care worker. I didn't fail as a college graduate, right? I learned more quickly the things in my life that I did not want to be. And when you can think about that way, right, you can take it from the first level of, you know, I didn't fail, I simply learned. I think what we forget, what we don't realize is that we get to learn quickly the things we don't want in life so we can get on to finding the things that we want in life faster. Because I went through, you know, college degree, got the degree, got a job, you know, graduated college, criminal justice degree for all the wrong reasons, got into a treatment home, was going to save the lives of all these boys, right? Worked with abused and neglected teenage males. And then 3 months into it, I was like, this is absolutely horrible. I said, put me on third shift. They'll sleep through the night. That's all I need to do. And I spent 2 years, 5 nights a week, 52 weeks a year. I would show up every night at 11 o'clock with 2 cups of coffee and a smile on my face, and I'd walk in those metal doors, and I hated every moment of it. I would watch Friends, and I would stay up for 8 hours and sit in this little cubicle in this little room, and I'd walk the same H-shaped hallway doing room checks every 15 minutes, and I'd watch reruns of Friends and Seinfeld and everything. And I was so miserable, but I stayed there for 2 years because I truly believed at that time that the $12.48 an hour that I was getting paid was all that I was worth. Mm-hmm. And so then if you fast forward, right, you know, I did some retail for a while. I was a team leader at Target, and then I worked at Sam's Club. And then I fell backwards into an opportunity to become a financial advisor. And I did it for a year and was like, you know what? This sucks. I don't want to chase the money like everybody else is doing. I can't stand the costume of wearing a suit and tie every day and choking myself to pretend that I'm a professional. And I will tell you, there was a long time after that. There was a long while after that, you know, that I carried those feelings that I failed at that, right? because that's what I should do. Like people told me, you stay here for, make it 5 years, right? 5 years from now, you could be on top of the world. 5 years, you can make $500,000. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? Well, that's also what, every other person who ever wrote a book believed too, give it 5 years and I'll be at $500,000, right? Give it 5 years, but we're still so afraid to try it. Like you said, we're afraid to write a book because we'd fail. What if nobody bought it when it came out? What if no one joined the coaching program when we launched it? But holding ourselves back from trying those things because we're afraid of failure, is essentially us just sitting so much longer in the things that we know we're not meant to do. So it's like you can choose to be afraid of failing at the thing. Let me tell you this quick. I wrote, I said it in my TEDx talk, and I think I put it in the Confident Five. So Jim in the world, right? He got an honorary doctor. He got one of those honorary doctorate degrees, right, from one of the colleges. And he tells, and in his speech, right? In his speech he gave, he says, right here. So Jim Carrey gave a commencement speech for an honorary doctorate degree, right? Mm-hmm. And I shared this in my TEDx talk, as well in the book, right? And he shared some powerful words about his father. He said, my father could have been a great comedian, but he didn't believe that was possible for him. So he made a conservative choice and got a safe job as an accountant. And when I was 12 years old, he was let go from that safe job, and our family had to do whatever it took to survive. I learned many great lessons from my father, not the least of which is that you can fail at what you don't want, so you might as well take a chance on doing what you love. So I remember when I read that. I remember when I first heard that, right? And this is, this was pre anything. This was when I was normal. Russell talks about us when we were normal. But when I first heard that, and I was like, man, look at Jim Carrey, right? Like, had he not moved past the fear of failing as a comedian, if he stayed where his father stayed, if he had done what his dad did, because that's what we all do, right? Whether we'll admit it or not, all of us men are doing it. Dad worked at GM for 30 years, so I'm going to work at the plant. Dad was a teacher, so I'm going to retire as I'm like, that's fine, but your family's going to suffer from it. They might have a good life, but they're not going to have the life that they deserve because you're not willing to create the life that you deserve because you're afraid to fail. I could sidebar that for hours, but I think that sums it up. We're too often, and Steve Larson said that in one of the calls, that people are so afraid to go out and fail at something, or they're afraid to try something that they might like because they're afraid to fail at it, and therefore they never figure out what they truly want in life. And I think we have it completely backwards. I think we have it all backwards, where we put more of the emphasis on us being afraid of failing, when I think the reality is we're afraid to figure out what we really want. Be a speaker and a life coach and an author, and I want to help men. I want to do that. Like, you're whack. You're crazy, Jason. You don't want to just keep your job. You don't want to be an advisor. I don't know what was your background, or what was your regular last job or real job? Where'd you come from?
Sales.
They're like, you don't want to just do sales, Klaus? You can come on. If you sell enough copiers, you sell enough printers, right? You'll be on top of the game by next year. It's easy. You just got to do what you're told. Just show up when we tell you to. And then Klaus is like, no, I'm not really into that. And they're like, what's wrong with you? Right? What do you mean? Anyway, that's what I think about failing. I think we need to get more courageous in learning who we are and what we want to be, versus being so fearful of failing at the things that we hate anyway.
Yeah, exactly. That ties into what I'm going to ask next, but I absolutely agree. I got the same thing when I left my last job. People are like, oh, you'll be back in a year. I'm like, thanks. At least you give me a year. That's nice.
Yeah, I appreciate the support.
Yeah, but hey, I'm still here and I'm still grinding, and they're actually following me now. And they're like, damn, dude.
Isn't that funny?
That you're coming out with. That's free. What? You interviewed that millionaire? How'd you do that? I said, dude, take a chance. Freaking grow a pair and, try stuff, you'll actually kind of gonna enjoy it. Anyway, it's also struggling, but I'm definitely enjoying it. Hey, talking about earlier, you mentioned American dream versus your dream or the dream, and that kind of ties in to what you just mentioned. Can you elaborate a little bit to people that do not know, okay, what does that actually mean for people? What does the American dream entail, and what is it that you look like, okay, that's nice, but that's not what we're going for. We're going for the dream or your specific dream, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So the American dream, they classify it as, a $300,000 house, a 2,000 square foot, $300,000 house with a 30-year mortgage people buy, a full-time job pays them $80,000 a year, right? So it's the house, the mortgage, 2 cars, all the toys, boats, snowmobiles, jet skis, everything, right? And so we strive a college degree, a mortgage, 2 cars, car payments, and that's it. And that's the life. And that's what we do. Hey, I'll see my wife when I see you. I'll see the kids when I see them because I'm going to work, right? And so they spend 40 hours, 50, 60 hours a week kicking rocks, slaving away at either the hard physical labor or suit and tying it up, right? And doing the same 70 hours a week, making sales or planning investments or doing whatever the thing is, just so they can pay for the things that they have. Right, so they can take their kids to Disneyland, and they do that based on the fact that they went and they needed to get a good job to make all the money. But for me, I 100% believe that every father should have the ability to wake up every morning and choose whether or not they want to spend time with their family and their children, or they want to spend time on the dance of their business. And I want 100% time freedom. I am 100, I want to choose that number, and for you, that number might be, for anyone, right? You could be living in Spain, and I'm not sure the cost of living, right? But like the American dream here, you'd be crazy, you're crazy if you told someone that you could live off 30. Be happy with that. You know what I mean? But if $50,000 a year allowed me to travel the world with my wife and my daughter, to be able to travel full time in an RV or be able to go to the beach 3-4 times a week, if that's what we loved, I would much rather 100% be able to do that because of the businesses that I built with enough passive income that supports that to give us time freedom and family freedom and the ability to be fully present with our daughters and with our wives every moment of every day, much more than I would ever chase any corporate ladder or any other job or position or career track, that's going to promise me the world and suck all my loyalty until they decide at the end of the day that to them I was really nothing more than another number, another body that filled the slot, another salesperson. No matter how good you are, Klaus, you broke a leg and couldn't sell. There's no loyalty to Klaus, the baddest salesman in the company, right? Like it's unfortunate, right? But we're all looking out for ourselves. And as fathers, I think we need to begin with, because we need to be able to change our world first and then change our family's world, and then we can change the world as a whole.
I hear it. Yeah, absolutely. Elon, I heard, actually my wife told me that she saw a message saying that Elon Musk is actually saying that we all need to work 80 hours a week. So good luck with that. He can have my hours for sure.
Yeah, and that's and there's those people. I mean, that's perfect for some people that, if you're not married, if you're single and you if you're a creative genius and you love being like Einstein and you want nothing but an Edison bulb and a desk, then that's fantastic. But but when your family suffers from it, and you're doing it in the name of the family, I'm doing it to give them a better life next year. I'm doing it to give them some time with their dad in 6 months when I can make it, when I have a week off or whatever. So.
You dropped off there for a second. The last thing we didn't hear. Sorry.
Oh, I was just saying. I was just saying that I'm personally not for that mindset of, I'm not going to put in the 80 hours a week for 2 years to be able to take a week off with my kids.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you there. I absolutely love waking my kids up and making them, getting them ready for school, bringing them to school, picking them up from school. It's absolutely fantastic. And, I actually just came back from playing with them in the playground. Now it's freezing cold, but that's an extra reason for me to just run around with them and warm myself up a little bit. But that freedom, man, I love that. During the summer, for example, summers here are 3 months long. And last summer as well, I spent most of the time in the park. I did bring my laptop or a book, so I'm studying and working. But the fact that I could just be there in the park playing with them, I was pretty much most of the time I was the only father out there. Everybody else was
right.
a grandfather, a grandmother, or a mother, and that was it. So I was feeling blessed. I'm like, look at me, man. People are looking funny at me like, what's that? Because they think most of the time like, oh yeah, he has no job, he's unemployed. I'm like, yeah, keep thinking that. I'm all right with that.
Right.
So living the life, man. I'm glad
right.
I'm glad you're sharing that. I hope people pick up on that it's so important to be in control of your own time, man. It's absolutely the most important thing that we can do. Just real quick, man, I'm really interested. You just mentioned that you've been on TEDx. TEDx is absolutely fantastic. How did that come about, and how was that for you? Because I can only imagine the nerves that you would have before going on the stage. So I'm also interested in how did you go about dealing with that?
Yeah, it was given the TEDx talk was one of the most monumental things in my life for a couple of reasons. Number one, it was at TEDx SVSU. So Saginaw Valley State University was actually the college that I graduated from. Their inaugural TEDx event in 2015, and I was the inaugural speaker. I was the very first speaker. So I was the inaugural speaker at the inaugural TEDx event for my alumni, where I graduated 5 years prior to that. Yeah, it was and it was awesome. And their theme was Roots and Wings. So I gave the TEDx talk, Fatherless to Fatherhood, the Journey. And that as well for me was the first time that I truly stood up and told the entire world the full story of my dad. So that was kind of the first time that I actually told the world what happened to my dad. And to this day, I tell my family, right? I tell my family, right, and I tell my wife all the time that my dad's story isn't the reason I do this. You know what I mean? I'm not out speaking against addiction or against narcotics or any of those things, right? But my dad's story is still a part of me, and it's the reason that I do everything I do today. The entire business was built upon that foundation of being fatherless, right? Fatherless to fatherhood and everything. And so my dad's story is the foundation that I stand upon, but it's not my story, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But so funny story about how it happened, because people ask me all the time, they're like, how did you give a TEDx talk? How did you do it? Like, I want to be a TEDx speaker. Like, and it's funny because I don't know the guy, but I was told from a member of my Toastmasters club, the guy who runs it actually. He said there's a guy online who actually has an entire business where he just coaches people to become TEDx speakers, which I find kind of funny because here's how I became a TEDx speaker. When I tell people, I decided that I wanted to. I looked for it. I applied. I got accepted, and then I gave a talk. And it's funny. So I was sitting around one night, right? It was like midnight, right? And I was Googling around on things, right? And I kept seeing these people, like TEDx speaker. And I said, damn it, everybody's giving TEDx talks except me. I said, I want to be a TEDx speaker. And I was like, TEDx Bay City, where we live. And I seen in the first article popped up was the announcement for Saginaw Valley's TEDx event that was happening. And the article that I found they had announced it about a year ago, and I was completely oblivious to it. I had no idea that my own alumni was putting on a TEDx event. So I seen the article and I read it, and there was 1 week left to apply. The deadline was coming up in a week. And so I did the same thing, right? I tried to make it perfect. I had to record a quick video, tell them who I was, what my story would be about, how it would fit into the theme. And I went out and sat on the porch. I sat on the front porch, right? Turned on my phone and was like, yeah. I got halfway through my video, and then whoosh, these cars drive by, and I'm like, so I hit record again, you know what I mean? And I'm like, all right, hey, I'm Jason, and this is why you should bring me on your TEDx talk. And then whoosh, I did like 3 times, and I was like, screw it, that's not good enough. So I waited a day, and then we had just finished painting my daughter's bedroom, and so I had a green wall and a purple wall and this big blue chair, and so I just said, screw it. And I went and sat in the chair in front of the purple wall, and I pulled out my phone, and I was like, I'm Jason Pockrandt. I went to Saginaw Valley. My dad passed away with battle prescription pills. I spent 8 years struggling, going through. And what happened, I wanted to get to the bottom of it. That's the reason I went to Saginaw Valley and got a criminal justice degree, was to figure out why my dad died. And I think I'd be awesome for the TEDx. And so I submitted the video, imperfectly perfect. And then I got accepted. And then I went to the coaching and the training. And I actually went through a coaching call as well. I paid for a coaching call with Lance Miller. He was the 2009, I think, world champion of public speaking. So in the Toastmasters world, he was one of those. And then I remember my coach, the individual that helped me form my business back in 2012. I remember as well, about a day or two before the event, I remember giving him the TEDx talk, and I ran through the whole thing, and I had everything perfect. And he looked at me and he said, you could do better than that. He's like, you're better than that. And so then the day came, and I remember showing up on stage, and it all just kind of went out the window. Like everything I had organized and outlined, and it was so perfect. And then I stood on that stage with about 100 people in the room, and I pretty much told the world for the first time, like my dad suffered from an addiction with prescription pills, and I lost them, and it it destroyed me and the family at the time. And I spent 8 years hiding from that because of my shame and my blame and my guilt and everything that was all my fault. And I spent 8 years running from that until I became the person that I am today. Another 5 years later or whatever, 3 years later, doing everything I'm doing. But none of that would have happened had I not lost my dad and started this journey. So.
Exactly. Well, that's powerful, man. And I'm assuming that TEDx presentation that you did is still on YouTube. We can find it. We can share the link.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll get that to you as well. Yep.
All right, cool, man. Yeah, because I love sharing those things, so people can, watch that as well and learn from that. Because even your situation, but some other people might be struggling with loss as well, and that might be a very powerful speech to help them out. So that's great. So I appreciate you sharing that. So listen, man, you were talking about intentionally present as well as part of a chapter in your book, intentionally present. I think we're struggling with that in general, just living in the moment, right? We're so stressed with what happened yesterday and what's going to happen tomorrow that we lose what's going on today, let alone be intentionally present with our kids. Can you give us a little bit of, how can I say that? Just a little bit of, what's in the chapter, and how can I, or how can all fathers out there start using the present, the moment, or intentionally be present to enjoy the moment?
Yeah, I think that I'd say one thing that they can do, which has been helpful for me, right? And I put it in the first book, The Confident Father's Guidebook. I put a mantra in there that said, that we as individuals, that follow the creed, right? We need to live in the present, let go of the past, and envision the future. And so, it sounds cliche, right? But we talk about meditation, or we talk about our affirmations. We talk about those mantras, right? I think that's one of the best things that we can do because I personally have carried the guilt. Um, and the day my father died, I carried that with me for 8 years. 8 years, I carried something. Okay. 8 years, I carried that thing that I could not change, that I had absolutely no power over fixing. And it took some of the best years of my life away from me. I mean, some of the what could have been the best years of my life through college, when I met my wife, I carried so much of that with me. That is bad. And I think it was bad. And I think that I think it's not just, but it's that acceptance piece. It's hard to accept it. I think one of the things that a lot of fathers can do is to revisit it. So I think that, things happen in the past, and we're afraid, we can't let go of the past because we're afraid to revisit what happened, because we don't want to face the reality of it. But until you face the reality of what happened, you will not be able to accept the fact that you can't change what had happened, which paralyzes you from envisioning the future. It paralyzes you from seeing where you want to go and then going toward it. As a quick example, right? I met my wife when Chandra, my wife, my beautiful wife. I met her when I was 19 years old, and I've been with her ever since. So we've been together for almost 15 years. We got married about 5 years ago, so 2013. It took me 2 years before I told my wife the truth about how my dad died. Wow. I told her, yeah, my dad had a heart attack, which technically is the truth, but it took me 2 years. And then one day I was laying in bed one day, and I was just crying. I missed my dad so much, and I was laying there thinking about my dad and thinking about everything, and I was so upset. And I was like, I miss my dad. And then she's like, and I think she might have asked me, I don't know, I don't remember if she had asked me or she brought it up, but she's like, what had happened? And then that's when I told her. I told her the truth. But we've been together 2 years before I opened up to my wife. And the reason I didn't open up to my wife is because I didn't want to open up to myself. I didn't want to face myself. I was still thinking in my head that there was somehow, some way, Klaus, that I could have changed what I did, right? And to give some better context, right, if anyone wants to understand the kind of that whole backstory, one of the very first guest posts that I did was on the Good Men Project, and it's called 3 Days, 4 Choices. Days and 4 choices, and that was the story. That was the story essentially of me. There's a Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, the 3 days that led up to my dad's passing, and everything that happened. So we left on a Wednesday. I made a promise. I went back Thursday. I did not keep my promise, and then I made really stupid choices on Friday, and then we found my dad, and it all just. But so there's that. So to think about the magnitude of that, right? I would just pray that someone in our shoes or in my shoes would not go through what I went through for as long as I went through it. And it sounds simple to say it, but it can be as large as that mess right there, or it can be as simple as, you know what? I really screwed up yesterday, but you know what? I still can't change what I screwed up yesterday. If you feel like a jerk because you yelled at your kids yesterday, you still can't take back the fact you yelled at them yesterday. But you can carry that for 2 weeks. You can carry that for a month. You can carry that or you can just be like, wow, let me sit down and think about why I really yelled at him. What was the trigger? What was the habit? What was the, because we can learn from those things. But we can't learn anything from just dragging it out. Just can't. Wow, that's a little emotional there, but
that's all right. I perfectly understand, man. It's tough. And I really appreciate you sharing with us, this topic. It's very hard, and it's hard. I think it's even hard for people that haven't lived such a thing to understand what goes on inside somebody's head and how to deal with that. So I can't say, like, we also, and I just want to elaborate on that a little bit. Once somebody tells a story, we are so accustomed to say, oh yeah, but me. You were telling a story, and I already had 3 stories in my head that I wanted to share. What has happened somewhere around me with somebody else that relates to your story, and that's a pity. That takes completely away the power of your story. So I just want to acknowledge and appreciate you sharing this. I think it's powerful, man. I think you're very brave sharing this. So my head goes off to you. I can't wear a hat anymore because it's just making me bolder and bolder, man.
I appreciate you letting me share it. So
yeah, man, I really appreciate it. I think it's powerful. I think people need to learn from that and show that bravery sets you free. And look where you are now, man. It's freaking amazing. 2 books. And not just that. I mean, writing a book in the end, even though people are struggling, if you think about it, writing a book is easy. But writing a book that makes an impact on somebody's life, that is more hard. Bringing it out then and putting your heart into it and your soul and bringing it out, that's just freaking powerful, man. Making that impact is so powerful. I thank you, man. That's really great. So I'm just wondering, man, last thing, because we're on a very hard deadline, and I also want to give you a little bit of time to let people know how they can get in touch with you, etc. I'm just wondering, man, you mentioned like free time, like having control of my own time is so important. And I completely agree. I'm just wondering, how is your morning set up? Do you have like a morning routine? How do you work that out?
Oh, I don't. And I'm glad you asked, because I think we might have to do part 2, because I want to hear, I'm told that you are the morning routine master. And I'll be honest, I don't have the best. I've fought morning routines for years because I'm naturally a night person. So, 7 o'clock rolls around for me and I'm ready to just crank out stuff till midnight, and then I'll sleep till 7 or 8. Right. But typically what I do is I always get up with my wife. We get up in the morning, we get up with our daughter, we have coffee, we have coffee together. We give our gratitude to each other, and then we usually read some scripture or watch some, my wife likes to listen to Joyce Meyer, so we'll watch that on TV or TD Jakes. But by then it's just kind of like, by then it's off to the races. It's, trying to take care of Lennox and then doing things with her. And it's already playtime by like, she's up at 7:30 in the morning. So we try to squeeze that in ahead of time. And then I do my fitness at night. So I do my walking at night and things of that nature. So, but I'm revamping. I'm in the process right now of adding a couple extra things. So primarily it's my time with God for my faith. It's the time with my wife to just enjoy a cup of coffee together and be with her. And then it's planning the day and making sure that I get the 3 big things done, at least. So today it was this podcast. It's this next phone call I have. And then it's a little bit more funnel training and a couple things I'm working on, on the book stuff. So nothing too crazy, but if you can nail those 3 and then get your fitness done, I'll get my walk and my water in for the day too.
Exactly. You're good to go.
A good day. So
yeah. Awesome, man. I appreciate that. I like your honesty. Sometimes people are like, ooh, he's asking about morning mastery. And I already know why he's asking it, because, I asked because I want to learn. And I also asked Akbar Sheikh, who you probably heard of, 2 Comma Club winner. And he's just like, man, I don't really care for a morning routine at all. And he explained why, and he explained how he lived. He said, look, it's impossible with a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old. I just can't. But, as you said, I focus on my 3 things that I have to do. I knock those out of the park, and then everything else comes. And that's cool, man. Whatever. In the end, it's whatever works for you best. That said, I got Kenyon on my coaching program, and man, I'll be happy to have you on there as well. And I will definitely send you my ebook that I'm sharing with people, man. It'd be my pleasure, so you can read through it. I'm all about building your own morning routine, and it doesn't matter how that works, as long as I got it focused around facing challenges and just make sure that early in the morning you're already so freaking fired up that whatever challenge comes along is just, a breeze to go through. Anyway, that said, man, awesome. I really appreciate you coming on. I really appreciate you opening up like you have. I think it's very powerful. Besides that, man, I'm sure I got tons of questions still, but I'm sure other fathers do as well. How can we follow you? How can we get in touch with you? How can we get your book, dude? Because I know it's about daughter, but I still want to have it.
Yeah, absolutely. So the best way, first, the bad boy, full physical book, right? I'm gonna go all classic offer here. You can get a free copy of the book at father-daughter-conversationsbook.com. You just got to cover shipping and handling, but I'll send out a free copy to anybody that wants to pick it up. And the first 100 people or so that pick up that book will actually get a free copy of the Confident Father's Guidebook, which is the first one as well. So, so I'll get that out there. So that's where you can pick up the book. More importantly, if you want to get connected with me, you always find me on Facebook. You can just look me up, Jason Pockrandt. And for any dads that are doing business, I would love to help you guys join. I have a private Facebook community called Dads Doing Business. So for any of the entrepreneurial fathers out there, that's where my heart's at. I always tell people you get bonus points if you're a fatherless father, because we're going to connect on a deeper level. And I love helping fatherless fathers, discover their purpose and things. But any dad doing business that wants to get on the front line and figure out how to start, scale, and grow some businesses, and especially authors that want to get some marketing systems built to help sell their books and make a bigger impact to get their message out. Because like you said, I love when you said that today too, because I tell people all the time, how'd you write a book? I'm like, it's not hard. Selling a book is hard. Marketing your book is hard. Like that's like, you can write the thing in a week. I mean, in a month, you know what I mean? Like write the book. If you've got a message, write a book, and then put in the work to sell it and get your message out there. So father-daughter-conversationsbook.com. You can get a free copy of Father-Daughter Conversations. And then I would love to have you guys find me on Facebook, like my page, or join the Dads Doing Business Mastermind, or the Dads Doing Business Facebook group. We're working on putting the Dads Doing Business coaching program together, so we're formalizing that as well for people that might be interested. But
awesome, man, awesome! I definitely got to join your Facebook group. I haven't done so yet. We're in the same boat, so I feel now obliged to be there. Man, great. I actually saw we got a couple of minutes, man. Is there anything that I haven't discussed, but that you're dying, that you would love to share with the fathers out there, a certain message or some advice or systems that you use that are absolutely working in regards to, I don't know, connecting with your wife or connecting with your daughter?
Yeah, I think oh man, so many things. I just think that one of the best things you can do is and this is gonna be, it's biased, right? So I'm skewing this toward married men, right? But I think the best thing that you can do for your daughter or for your children at all is to do everything humanly possible in your power for you to become the husband and father that God created you to be, so that you can be there for your wife and you can be there for your spouse, and then you can emulate and you can model and you can truly be the example that your children need to see firsthand, because we've only got 18 years. Meg Meeker says, you've got 18 years to raise a respectable, responsible, by being the person that you need to be. So if you are not on the path to discovering what it is that you were meant to do in this life, you need to wake up and you need to just start doing it. Like, it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to be a walk in the park, but like, seriously, because I know you're out there listening and I know you're at a job you hate or you're at a career that pays you more than enough and you're like, I don't even hate my job, Jason. Well, you know what? If you don't love what you're doing and you're not living the life that you want to live, then there's room for growth. And that's what coaching programs are for. It's why I do what I do. It's why Klaus is doing what he's doing. It's why masterminds exist. It's why there's men like Klaus and like myself that are out here to help you become the father that your father couldn't be. So I would simply challenge everyone out there listening, every father, every man out there listening, to make the choice today, whatever that might look like for you. If it's picking up my book, or it's joining Klaus's coaching program, or it's getting connected with me, find the person that you resonate with, and get on with getting on. Get on with getting on with the rest of your life, because there is no tomorrow, and tomorrow may never come. And frankly, I'm just sick and tired of hearing other fathers make the same excuses that I made for far too long in my life, because you deserve better than that. Your wife deserves better than that, and your children deserve better than probably what you're giving them.
Boom. As people would say, boom. Man, that's powerful. Thanks. And I think it's a truth bomb coming at everybody that was listening. It's a great moment to end this. And good luck with your upcoming call. You mentioned it's very important for you. You're going to crush it. I'm sure of it. Best of luck with all your endeavors. We will talk soon and be in touch a lot. I know for a fact we've connected. I connected with you amazingly this hour. I appreciate you being on. And yeah, man, we'll talk soon. Everybody else, thank you for watching this, and we will see each other soon. I am live, just like Jason, every single day, coming at you with advice.
That's right. I appreciate it, Klaus. Thank you for having me on the show. And again, I will say to everyone as well, I truly mean it. I say it on my lives every day. So if you're not following me, please reach out to me, or leave a comment on this post here for Klaus. Leave a comment, send me a message, reach out to us. Let me know one small way, one small thing that I can do to help you move you forward in your life or your business, and let us know what we can do to help serve you. So I mean that. I love everyone, and thanks for bringing me on the show, bud. I appreciate it.
Amazing, man. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Are you still meeting up with your friends now that you're a father? Kids making you stress out. You got no time for yourself to work out, read, or relax. Can you still remember the time you were hanging out with your friends, feeling energetic, happy, and confident? Spending time together and talking about your life and your crazy dreams. You're feeling alone now, don't you? No one to share your challenges with, and you're just running around from one storm into the next. Well, it's time to change this now. Join me and the Brotherhood of Fearless Fathers to speak on a weekly basis with like-minded dads to crush your challenges, face your fears with determination, be held accountable, and regain control of your life. If you want to become the hero your family needs you to be, then go to becomeafearlessfather.com/brotherhood. I'm looking forward to seeing you on one of our next calls.